What's up, everybody? Chilling over at twitch.tv/Lawler with our fellow snack packers. Everybody in chat saying hello to the YouTube frogs. Greatly appreciate y'all being here. Twitch.tv/Lawler. We stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. And we are getting to that point in the season. The exciting stuff is finally on the line. As you guys know, if you've been watching my YouTube channel in the past, the third regional is when it all is on the line. This is when the boys become men. I don't know what kind of phrasing you want to use, but separating the good from the great. The teams that are able to clutch up and show that they're a top 5 team and go represent their region at the World Championship as well as the majors. And right now we're headed into North America Spring Split number 3. That'll be going on Friday. And there is still 11 teams in the running. One of those teams in particular is not included because they've already qualified. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, G2 Esports has already qualified themselves to the Spring Split Major. The only thing that they are doing right now is playing for top 6, I'm pretty sure. And if they secure top 6, which they probably will, then they are guaranteed the #1 overall seed. They look pretty dang good right now. So, with that said, in today's video, we're going to get interrupted by Sasuri, but we are also going to talk about 11 teams. In particular, we're going to go from the ones most likely to qualify to least likely to qualify. We're going to talk about each specific team, what they need to do to win and get into top 5, what they need to do to guarantee themselves a spot going to the Spring Split Major, and we're going to go step by step. Some of these are a lot tougher than others. Some of these are very, very similar. The nice thing is down below, there will be a timestamp that tells you which team is which. You can scroll through the timestamp, click on the team, and do it. Otherwise, you can go in the description down below and not only follow all my socials, hit subscribe, and hit like, but there will also be a link to this spreadsheet, the playoff scenario spreadsheet made by the one and only Direct. You guys have heard me talk about at length on this channel before. So with that said, let's jump over to the other side. There's going to be 2 pages to pay attention to. On the right-hand side, underneath my camera, is the teams in their current standing order. These are the total points for spring. You can see, as I mentioned, G2 already up at the top, has qualified. That's why they're green. They have already made it to the major no matter what. Guaranteed points. They are in. Everybody else is fighting. They're trying to be the top 5. We've got some ties going on, but this is what's going on. So this is the kind of quick sheet on the left-hand side of what needs to happen. The big reason why I have this still up is all these teams have been eliminated. They cannot make it. Shopify Rebellion, Randoms, Friends, Exit, Stromboli, the former Charlotte Phoenix team, All Mid, Pittsburgh Knights, Torrent, and Accelerate cannot make the major. They are done. If they are in the main event, they are just playing spoiler. We are now going to go from the top team down, start with V1 and go left to right and talk about what needs to happen for these teams to qualify. So first, version 1. The big thing they need to do is make top 6. So V1 needs to beat Stromboli, and then the winner of NV Oxygen, if they do that and they get to the upper semifinals, they have guaranteed a spot in the major. They will be going to London. Myself as well, most likely. We'll see what that happens. Subscribe to the channel if you want to make sure what the hell's going on for London in my particular circumstance. So that's the big thing they need to do. If they win their 2 matches in the upper bracket, they are good. If they do not, it then gets more and more complicated. There's a lot of different scenarios, and hopefully you guys can leave these up so you can pay attention. But the biggest thing to pay attention on how to read these, you read the top line. They clinch the major if they finish 7th or 8th.
He's going to be dropping you the knowledge. There's something to look at as well.
20 gifted subs. If you guys got gifted sub, make sure you tell them thank you. Another reason to stop by the stream. You can also interrupt me by giving me money. So you can read these as it states. Clinch the major with a finish of 7th, 8th, which is this stage of the bracket. You get here, you're 7th, 8th. And then they need 2 or more of the following things to happen. They need Envy to finish below top 6. They need 1 of 2 of these things. So if Energy does not win and Complexity do not win and they finish top 8, then they are in. So the best thing to do is when you are following along with your favorite team, you read the top thing and go, okay, have they made it there? So let's say V1. V1 completely poops the bed. They go 0-2, they're out, right? V1 loses, they drop, they go 0-2, they finish 13th to 16th. They lose here, they're done. They need 5 of these things to happen. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to just follow along and check them off. And you're just going to follow along and make sure that these happen. I will tell you that Direct will most likely live update these as well and turn these red if they do not happen, green if they do. And then you just have to count how many. I will try to do these as well while I do watch party stuff. So that is the way to follow these along. So the big one for V1, They need to make top 6. Top 6, they control their own destiny. They win 2 of the upper bracket series. They are in. The rest, we don't need to overcomplicate. Envy and Space Station and Faze are kind of in a similar bid, and these are going to be a little redundant based upon the point totals of 590, 560, and 560. They're all pretty close. Envy has the best chance between those. They need to finish top 3. And the reason why it's top 3 for a guarantee is because V1 is 50 points ahead. So that is really important. There's also a couple asterisks in here. You can already see some of these already being filled in because Accelerate and Torrent did not qualify for the main event. So top 3 is really important. The other side of it too is if top 3 happens, there could be a tiebreaker. If all the bad things happen, like we're talking worst case scenario, NRG, G2, Space Station, and Faze finish above them, then Envy and V1 would have to play for a tiebreaker for that 5th place spot. So things like that to consider. Basically, Envy is looking for a top 3 finish. 2nd place is even better. If they do not, and they finish 4th, then they need V1 to finish 7th to 8th. They need Space Station to finish 5 to 6, Faze 5 to 6, and NRG cannot win because NRG right now in the standings is 6th. They are looking to bump out one of the spots. NRG scenarios are pretty nasty. We'll get into those in a bit. Let me throw this sheet up again. And I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can read everything. Again, as a reminder, click the top one. Check them off as they happen. If you would like to edit this on your own, you can do File, make a copy, and then you have the ability to edit and manipulate it as much as you would like. Space Station Gaming. Very similar, but a little bit different because they are just a few points behind Envy. I will tell you, Faze Clan and Space Station are the same. Because they have the exact same amount of points, there is some tiebreaker scenarios that could be very interesting, but for the most part, almost identical. The other thing that is crazy about this is if you are one of these teams, you usually want the teams ahead of you to keep performing well and knocking out other rosters. Because as soon as these two drop, then it adds a bunch of more opportunities for these teams down below. So if you are a team like Envy, you want most likely G2, V1 to either keep doing well or to have them completely poop the bed. G2 pooping the bed just opens up opportunities. Like, all these teams that are trying to qualify are just like, G2, keep dominating, please. We know we can't catch you. Just keep winning. Knock out the teams in our way. So that is important. But for Space Station, top 3, very important. Finishing 3rd or better will clinch a major. They also, if they do not and they place top 4, so say they get to this round in the lower semifinals, then they need to finish 4th, and 3 or more of the following things need to happen. V1 needs to go 1-1. They need Envy to finish 6th or worse. They need Faze to finish 6th or worse. If you guys don't remember 6th, that is the lower quarterfinals. They need Energy to finish 3rd or worse, Complexity not to win, and Ghost not to win. And the reason why is because those are the next 2 teams that are outside of the qualification points. Keeps going down from there. So I'm going to pause this a little bit, let you guys see what the heck is going on and what is needed. Don't forget timestamps down below if you want to check back on these. That is the spreadsheet. I will also link this in the video in the description. All right, up next, we got Faze Clan. It's going to look very familiar to you because we just went over this. The exact same amount of points as Space Station. So Faze and Space Station are currently tied at 560 points. Top 3 is what they're aiming for. Top 3 is very, very important. Again, same situation is if they do finish 4th, then they need 3 or more of the following to happen. Also with Space Station, antithesis for Faze. So where we saw Faze here, we see Space Station here. Otherwise, they're pretty much the exact same. Very, very similar. Need a lot of help the worse and worse they do. We saw Space Station kind of go through this where they could have clutched up, but because of the fact that they did go in 12th last time, they made it out of groups, but then fell immediately in winter. The fate was basically watching Oxygen and V1 fight. So very scary for Space Station. This time around, top 6 is kind of what you're hoping for. You're hoping if you're one of these teams to win this match, like these 2 matches, and end up here. Because if you finish top 6 in the upper semifinals, you do need some help, but very likely you're going to knock some teams down. So for a lot of these teams, top 6 is a really good feeling when it comes to qualifications because a lot of these will follow suit, but there is a lot of teams that they're kind of worried about. But for most of these teams that are in the conversation that we're talking about right now, you're talking about the V1, the Envy, the Space Station, the Faze, those 4 teams. Ghost and Rogue not winning is like, all right, there's 2, we're good. So pretty important stuff. Pretty important stuff. Again, if you want to see your team, timestamp down below. Now, for the big juicy ones, the first 4 are pretty straightforward, not including G2. But when we get to energy, this is when things spice up a little bit. Energy has had a pretty interesting regional, and they're going to need some very ridiculous type of runs in order to make it happen, which we all know they are capable of. So don't count them out. Right now, they're 6th overall with 460 points. In order to make the major, they have to win. To guarantee a spot, no pressure, just win forehead. Very tough. The reason why winning is so important is because you get that additional 51 points in your qualifier. So if energy wins, that would put them at 611 points, I'm pretty sure. 611 points, which basically adds to that threshold of like, okay, we're good. It will separate everybody else below them. They'll have enough to make it in. And I hope I did the math there. Did I do that completely wrong? So 911, it's 400. Okay, so 811. So put them at 861. So be at 861, right? Assuming they get a bit of a buffer putting them here, that means that the other teams in their way would be knocked down. And with the way the bracket goes, like even if it is one of these teams that is in the way, there'll be enough of a gap to be able to beat out the other teams. So process of elimination, if they're getting the points, that means somebody else can't. Math. Jokes aside with everything, if they do not take first, this is when it gets very complicated. Because of where they're at right now, they need to outperform. And the big thing to pay attention to, they basically have to outperform Envy, Faze, Space Station, primarily Faze and Space Station by 2 rounds. And what I mean by 2 rounds is, say NRG finishes here, they need Space Station Faze to finish here. Oh, they pre-had the 80 for auto quals. You guys are right. It doesn't have it shown, but there's 80 points to the right of this as well. So right now they actually have 380 points. You're right. You guys are right. So it's a little bit less than that. You guys are right. The big thing NRG is hoping is that Faze and Space Station finish somewhere down here and like end up here, kind of like how Vitality and Solary just did in EU last week. And if they finish down here and they finish like a top 6, they're good. That changes a lot because you get more point allocation. Instead of it only going up by like 30 points or whatever it is, it goes up by 50 when you get into the further parts of the bracket. And that's why some of these qualifications are a lot different. That's why 5th, 6th and stuff is good when they're 2nd, because the difference in points between here to here are massive. So the big thing though to pay attention to, kind of 2 rounds ahead. 2 rounds ahead for energy. You're going to be paying attention primarily to Space Station and Faze because they're trying to increase that gap between 6th place while energy is trying to play catch up. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. If they tie for 2nd with Envy, then they'll have to do a tiebreaker as well. If they do not make it past this round, they're eliminated, which is how they did, I think, in the first regional when they got swept by Rogue. So if energy does not make it past 9 through 12, which is where here is, they're out. They're done. They cannot make the major, which would be insane. Up next, we got complexity. Complexity is a little bit more difficult, and these are going to get more and more strict. Same thing with Ghost. Not only do they have to win the entire thing to guarantee a spot in the major, they also need one more thing to happen. And it basically takes the rankings and goes step by step. So like if complexity wins because they're in 7th, they need V1 to bump down far enough for them to bump in. And that's going to increase the spot based upon who it is. So you'll look at the inverse. Complexity is here. V1 is here. They need V1 to finish the worst. If complexity finishes first, then they need Envy to finish 5, 6. Complexity finishes first. They need Faze and Space Station to finish 4th or worst because of the less points they have. The leapfrog them with that additional 51 changes everything. The crazy thing is when they start getting not first place, how much stuff opens up and how much help they need. With these scenarios, it's always going to be a snowball effect because obviously the better they do, the more likely some of these other results are not happening. So things to keep in mind. That said, if they take 2nd, they need 4 or more help. Same thing, the inverse based upon V1. The worse that complexity does, the worse they need the people up top to do. Because at this point, they're just trying to do anything they can in their power to get in. They need to leapfrog somebody in these tops. So it's going to be very, very difficult for complexity. They're capable of it, but it is not going to be easy. They need a lot of help. They need a lot of help. You're talking they need 4 or more to happen. Rogue, Ghost not winning. And then from there, who knows? And maybe Ghost makes another incredible run. I don't foresee it happening, but you never know. Spoilers, we'll have predictions out tomorrow. Make sure you guys hit subscribe and tune in for those. Yeah, a lot of help. But the big things to remember for Complexity, if you're a Complexity fan, you're voting for Vamos, just know if they don't finish, like if they finish top 6, they're done. They need to finish at least lower semifinals and further. They have to get top 4. Have to. If they finish 5-6, which is this round, they're out. They have to get top 4. Very difficult for them. Very difficult for them. They have to get at least to the lower semifinals, and then they need a lot of love. 8 or more. If they finish 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They need these things to happen. It is going to be tough. But at the same time, all it takes is one upset, and then things start to open up. So have a little bit of faith. But top 4 is a requirement. Over to Ghost Gaming. Similar regards. Ghost Gaming is 10 points behind Complexity. Not only do they need Complexity to poop to bed, but everybody else above them. So for Complexity, not only do they have to win, but they need version 1 to do even worse than what it was for Complexity. They need 9th to 12th, which is only 1 series win. They need Envy, which is technically 2, unless they drop to lowers, then it's 3. If it is Space Station, they need to do 4th or worse, and Faze, 4th or worse. Obviously, the scenarios get more and more complicated as things progress, as you guys can see on your screen. Big one for them as well. If they get top 6, not good enough. They also need to get top 4. Both Ghost and Complexity need a top 4. Very, very difficult. So yeah, Ghost Gaming, similar situation to Complexity. Need to get top 4 and then some love. And it gets more and more difficult every single time. Again, Direct is going to do his best, as I've said at the beginning of this video, and I know I'm reiterating a lot for those that are watching. That's just so when you click on your team that you're looking for, you hear this. These will be hopefully live updated as Direct sees them and updates them manually. So when one of these teams gets eliminated, so say like Akrew gets knocked out in round like 2 of lowers or something like that, this will then become green and he'll fill these in for otherwise. I will also reach out to him and see if he wants help while I'm watching these. That is for Ghost Gaming. Next, we go to Rogue. Rogue is sitting in 9th overall, and their scenario is pretty spoopy. We're going to do the opposite. If Rogue does not finish top 4, they are out. If Rogue does not finish top 4, they are out. In order for them to guarantee a spot at the major, not only do they have to win the entire tournament, but they also need help. They need 2 or more of the following things to happen. V1 needs to finish 9th to 12th, which is only 1 series win. Envy needs to finish 7th to 8th or worse. Again, if you guys don't know where that is lower round 3. They need Space Station 5 or 6 or worse. That is 1 step further. That's quarterfinals and lowers. They need Faze to do that same exact thing. And then Energy needs to finish 3rd or worse, because there needs to be enough wiggle room for them to get points ahead of them so they can bypass them in the standings and knock them down. Scenarios as follows. All right, 3 teams remaining. These are all going to be very similar, so we're going to crush through these. Soniqs. If they don't finish top 3, they go bye-bye. Soniqs needs at least top 3. Again, a lot of points to make up because they finished last in Spring Regional 1. A lot of points to make up. With them, need at least a top 3. Very tough. You guys don't know where top 3 is. That is right here. Loser bracket finals. It's a lot of ground to make. If they win, they go on a hero run, they win the whole thing, they still need at least 4 things to happen, which if they're winning, then I would assume some of these other things are not. Ghost finishing 3rd or worse, Complexity finished 3rd or worse, NRG 4th or worse, Faze 7th, 8th or worse. Same thing with Space Station. Envy finished 9th to 12th, and V1 goes 0-2 and finishes 13th to 16th. So their scenarios get very, very difficult, right? Like if you're Soniqs and you see the very first round and V1 wins against Stromboli, this immediately becomes red. You now have only 6 out of 4. Like you have to get 4 out of 6. That's like you're 2/3. Like you, immediately 66% chance. Like it drops very quickly when teams start to do well for you. So a lot of things, and that's if they win the whole thing, right? So very important. Top 3 is a requirement. If they do not finish top 3, they are done, and they need a lot of help. It's even harder for Oxygen, as Oxygen also needs to make up for a qualifier. Regional 2, they went last placed, and in the first regional, they got 1 step past that. They finished 9th to 12th. So for Oxygen Esports here, you can tell they got to finish top 2. They got to be in the grand final, straight up. If Oxygen is not in the grand final, they are out. So you're hoping you see them Championship Sunday, the very last match of the day if you're an Oxygen fan. And they need all the help in the world. Now, I will say, again, redeeming quality, if they do make it to the grand final, it is likely that something is going crazy and a lot of big names are probably out. The difficulty for them, though, again, if they win the whole thing, there is 7 scenarios that they can have happen, and they need 5 of them. So they need Envy to lose 0-2. They need Space Station to go 1-2. They can win a series. They need Faze to go 2-2. Like it just gets harder. Yeah, 1-2. My bad. It just gets harder and harder and harder. So there's a lot of things happening here, but there is some towards the bottom that are more likely. The ones that are on the bottom half of these are more likely to happen than the others. So Rogue not finishing 3rd or worse. Some of these things are more likely to happen than others. Like Rogue finishing top 3 can still happen. It's pretty crazy. It opens up a lot of opportunities. Because if Rogue is finishing top 3, then who the heck did they beat along the way to eliminate? Some teams you're like rooting for, but also not. So pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff. It's the weird thing about these scenarios, right? Is if you're a team that like has to finish in the grand finals, win or loss, you're actually kind of hoping that like one of these teams like Rogue is doing really, really well up until the point where you need them to do bad, because that means that these big name teams towards the top, these ones that you need to perform poorly, probably are. Yeah. And if they don't win, right? Say they take 2nd place, there's 11 scenarios. They need 10 of them to happen. So say FaZe Clan wins their first series, Space Station's got to poop the bed, and so does everybody else. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very tough. And last but not least, we've got Akrew. Got to meet their owner in Boston. Very nice guy. Shout outs to Daniel. Crew needs help. They have to win. If they don't win, they're out. And then they need a lot of help. 7 scenarios, they need 6 of them. Space Station to lose, has to go 0-2. FaZe Clan also has to go 0-2. Energy can't finish top 8. Complexity can't finish top 6. Ghost can't finish top 4. Either can Rogue. And Soniqs, 3rd or worse. Very, very tough. Very tough. As a reiteration, we're going to go back to the very beginning to make this simplified. This is the main scenario page. This is the super TLDR, very simplistic end all to be all. If you want to know the easy way to figure out if your team is winning, this is how. If I'm a Crew fan, we got to win. If I'm an Oxygen fan, we got to make it to the grand finals. If I'm Rogue, I got to finish top 3. If I'm Soniqs, Ghost, or Complexity, I have to finish top 4. If I'm Energy, if I clinch the whole thing, if I'm Energy and I win the event, I'm in. Did it. Let's go. If I am FaZe, Space Station, or Envy, and I get into the top 3, things are looking pretty good. Need a little bit of help, but things are looking pretty dang good. And if you're V1, top 6. If you win 2 matches in a row in the upper bracket, you beat Stromboli, you beat the winner of Envy Oxygen, you're in. See you there. Taking 2nd place last week, did some immense things for you. Envy was also almost in that situation, but because V1 did beat Envy, that leapfrog, that is the difference. Wild things. You're talking a 2-round difference because of a win over Envy. That is the cutthroat nature of this format. Incredible stuff. So that is what I have for the playoff scenarios for you guys for North America. If you would like to know them more, 2 things you can do. Down below, there is timestamps. Go cut to the team that you want. Hit pause. Follow along. If you'd like to follow along even more, go into the description of this video. There is a link to this document if you'd like to update it on your own. Hit file, make a copy, and then you can update it with highlights or whatever you want to do to follow along live as well. But feel free to use this video. Leave it up. Make sure you guys watch it, all that kind of stuff. And if you guys enjoy it and you like me doing this stuff, we'll be doing it again next week, same time on Wednesday for Europe, if you'd like to follow those scenarios. Again, massive thank you to Direct, the statistician for RLCS, for putting this stuff together as well, sharing it to the public. Educating us as an audience is super important. It's also why I make these videos, to educate you guys so you can sound really, really smart to your friends. But it is all Direct. Direct is the one who puts all this stuff together. I am just making it public because it's a lot easier if I tell and share the information to you guys so I don't have to reiterate it every single day. But that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the content, as always, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications. Make sure you follow me on all the socials, stay up to date on all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.